Hey, True Believers, Englentine here with another batch of reviews. Now, usually I do 3, a DC, a Marvel, and an independent. I already did a DC review with Wonder Woman number 750, quotation marks. So that's why I only have 1 DC comic here, and I've got 2 Marvel and 2 independent. Okie dokie. So anyway, with all that aside, let's get this party started. Thor number 1. I have the Thor number 1 review just in time for Thor issue number 2 to be hitting the stands. So it's Donny Cates, and Donny Cates is pretty solid when it comes to writing. He's the Allfather now, and as he says to Loki at one point, and all the powers that come with it. And he's trying to rule Asgard when all of a sudden Galactus comes crashing down. And we find out that what Galactus survived the first time to become Galactus is coming back to destroy Asgard. It's a really good story. It's a good idea. It's a lot of fun. I've got to admit, Donny Cates, like I said, is a very strong writer. I don't want to spoil the ending for those of you who may not have read Thor number 1, even though, like I said, Thor number 2 is on the shelf. But it's like, really? This is kind of like making Invisible Woman an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Do we really need to do that in order to make Thor a more interesting character? But it's working. I got to admit, I was intrigued. I was excited. It all comes down to scripting, man. And Donny Cates has it. This is a really good book. It's a strong start to what I hope will be a good series, and I have a feeling it probably will be as long as Cates is on the tail. I just hope we never get to a point where Donny Cates has written himself out, I guess, you know? Like Brian Michael Bendis writes so many books that it's low quality, he's not paying attention. Here, however, I love the way they handle Loki, especially with the veiled threat that Thor now possesses the power of the Allfather. It's a character work. It's a character work that has action, and that action is huge. The big problem, of course, is where are you going to go from here? Seriously, if you start the series with a universe-threatening problem, then where do you go from here? That's not a bad problem to have for a first issue. I Can Sell You a Body number 1. I picked this up, and I'm thinking, okay, interesting title. That's pretty cool. And, you know, sometimes I don't look on the inside because I'm like, this might be interesting just by the title alone. And the fact that there were ghost arms, I'm thinking, okay, this might be interesting. Then I saw the art. I'm like, oh, crap. As soon as I see the art on some books, I'm like, this is going to suck. This is going to suck because this is the type of book this is going to be just based on the art. And it's usually slice of life kind of boring stuff where they ignore all the cool. Well, no, this is kind of different than that. This is about a guy who could talk to dead people and, souls and all that kind of stuff. And in this case, he's actually promising to do a reverse exorcism where he takes the dead person, finds a body for them, brings him back. A mafia guy hires him to do that, but he can't find a body and he can't find the mafia kid's dad. So he now owes this kid $100,000 or something like that. So anyway, it's basically him. And he's not a good character. I mean, it's a horrible character. And it's mostly his thoughts and what he's going through. And in all honesty, I found it unpleasant. Wasn't written very well. The jokes do not land. And in all honesty, it was a very unpleasant read. I just didn't want to. I didn't want to spend any more time than I had to with it. And this book took me forever to get through. If you're not caring about the characters, you're not caring what happens to the characters. And that's the biggest freaking problem with a lot of the comics, with anything. As a matter of fact, TV, movies, comics, whatever, if you don't care about the characters, you're just not going to care about what's going on with them. And that's what happened here. Absolute travesty. Not a fan at all. I will not be continuing this series. There will be no review for number 2. Action Comics 1018. Once again, and I'm probably saying this for a lot of these issues, I haven't been keeping up. I just didn't have the money, so I'm jumping right back in. And okay, it's kind of confusing. We do get this sort of recap thing, but it's all at this and at that on social media about what people are seeing here. And then we get an origin story of how the newspaper reporter got her powers. That part was decent, except for I don't like the newspaper reporter as a character. Actually, I don't like many characters at all here, including Superman. The fire marshal seems to be okay. I guess Clark Kent's fine. I don't know. I don't hate him. It's just not all that interesting to me. I did enjoy a little bit of this origin story, though. It's not a horrible book. It's just ultimately not a good one, really. I'm sorry, but there's nothing new under the sun. We've seen this kind of thing before. You have normal people acting in extraordinary ways that I just can't see him acting. Scientists killing a reporter. You know, and they're, oh, well, you knocked her out. Now we got to kill her. Okay, yeah, no, I just don't see that. I'm sorry. But it seems that they did that only so it justifies their death, which takes away all tension. If she's going to be a bad guy, then wouldn't it be better if she killed them without any kind of pretense, without any sort of attack on her person? That way it shows that they're innocent and she's not. I don't know what story's supposed to be told here. And the bit with the fire marshal, while she's a decent character, overall, it's just nothing because we know what's coming. He reveals his identity and says, well, I'm revealing my identity in 2 days, so it doesn't matter. And it's absolutely right. That is an amazingly accurate assessment of what's going on here. Plus, at one point, there's a timestamp that says 2 days earlier, and then it just keeps going, and it never says, hey, wait a second, okay, when are we in the present? This is an entire book that's set in the past, and I'm not exactly sure Brian Michael Bendis remembered that. The Clock. This, number one, by the way, this is a book that asks the question, has anybody ever weaponized cancer before? Written by Matt Hawkins here, and he tells a little story after the book about how he was talking to a guy where he asked that question. In this case, you got people who believe that the world is overpopulated and they need to do something before nature does it for us. And just the whole thought of this kind of thing is really scary. There's a movie called The 12 Monkeys where you find out the people who believe that the world is overpopulated, they release a disease that takes out most of humanity. And I've always believed that it's going to be some of these groups that just, oh my gosh, I care about the planet, therefore we have to do something that's going to destroy it because they're going to want to change something about nature. The book itself here takes a lot of time to get to the point. I mean, we meet some guys there helping out an African village. We get a few action scenes. That's okay. But it's like, okay, so what is the book about? Are you going to get around to it? Are you going to continue the story? What's going on here? Yeah, I know it's violent in these parts of the country. You're not showing me anything new. Whatever your message is, it's out there. It's like that one season of The Office where they did a run for a disease that was already cured. We know about this. What's your point? Let's get to it. And that's the biggest problem with this book. I think if they led with the last half of the book and then went into the rest of it, it would have been a lot better. It just, okay, tell me what the story's about, and then let's get to it. Instead, you find out what the story's about maybe 15, 16, 17 pages in, and that's kind of ridiculous. Not a bad book, just poorly edited. Amazing Spider-Man number 36. Love the cover, by the way. It is a very simple hero cover. 2099 is in trouble is kind of messing up the whole art situation there. And considering this book doesn't really go into that except for at the end, oh man, what a waste. I'm sorry, I really like the cover art. But inside, I was like, oh, okay, he's fighting Dr. Doom. This is awesome. Alrighty, because I remember this one issue where he's trying to save an old thief, and he's really worried about fighting him. And this is basically him running scenario after scenario with a person who could see the future in order to find the best way to beat Dr. Doom, and he just keeps getting his butt kicked. And finally, he has to actually go face him, but, you know, the best he could do is a 51% chance of success and survival. And that's one of the things I really like. Let's put people in their place. Spider-Man is powerful, but Dr. Doom will kick his ass, and I kind of dig the fact that they're willing to admit that. It's an entertaining and enjoyable book. It's not exactly new reader friendly, however. For the most part, I was like, okay, so why are we going through this? Why are we doing this? And why is 2099 in trouble when they are literally just going from one scenario of how Spider-Man could fight Doctor Doom to the other? It wasn't until we get to the end where I'm like, oh, okay, I think they bring up the person who is in the costume for Spider-Man 2099. I can't be for certain. So, yeah, it just kind of threw me. But not enough to not enjoy the book. I actually really like this. This, as much as it doesn't explain a lot of what's going on, is still an entertaining book. And sometimes that's all you can ask for. It's sometimes all you really want to ask for. The art is good. The colors are really what makes this book stand out as far as art, but still it's on point. I just think, as Stan Lee once said, every book is somebody's first issue, so you kind of have to let them in on where you're going and what you're doing. There you go, gang. Those are the reviews. What do you think? Have you read these? And if so, like I said, what do you think? Do you like them? Do you hate them? Did I get things right? Did I get things wrong? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to click like, share, subscribe. Ring that notification bell, because that's what's most important, making sure that your notifications are on all for Google and YouTube. And don't forget to go on over to Patreon or to Ko-Fi, drop $1 in the till, and helps keep making videos for you. Helps keep the lights on as well. I'd like to thank everybody who's already done that. And to everyone, all of the true believers out there, thank you very, very much for watching.